Most finance content tells you to cut back, stop spending on this, stop buying that, and there's a time and place for that advice. But today, we're doing the opposite. There are 10 things worth upgrading the moment you start making real money, specifically because of how directly they impact your mental health and your day-to-day quality of life. If topics like this are useful to you, make sure you're subscribed, because this is exactly the kind of practical, honest financial content this channel is built around. Now, of course, this assumes your financial foundations are already in place. You're saving, you're investing, and you have some disposable income left over. If that's you, this video is for you. Let's get into number 1, and that's your sleep setup. If there's one upgrade on this list with the most immediate, measurable return, it's probably this one. Sleep researchers have found that sleeping less than 6 hours a night impairs cognitive performance to a level equivalent to being legally drunk. And most people are doing this almost every single night. Upgrading a mattress often produces a difference within the first week, not just sleep quality, but focus, mood, energy. It compounds into everything else on this list. The specific upgrades worth making: a quality mattress, a supportive pillow, blackout curtains, earplugs if you live somewhere noisy. You spend a third of your life in bed. It's the one piece of furniture genuinely worth spending properly on. It's worth naming why this particular upgrade gets postponed so often too. A mattress doesn't feel broken the way a cracked phone screen does. There's no obvious moment of failure. It just quietly underperforms year after year. And because the decline is so gradual, most people simply forget what properly restful sleep even feels like. They adjust their entire baseline downward without ever noticing it happened. Number 2, your health access. This looks different depending on your situation, but the principle stays the same. Once you're earning well, it's worth spending money to make healthcare faster and easier to access. First, check whether your employer already offers health insurance as a benefit. Many companies include it, and it's simply a matter of making sure you've opted in and understanding what it covers. If you don't have that through work, a private or upgraded health insurance policy becomes worth serious consideration. Same-day access to a doctor, faster specialist referrals, private treatment if needed. Public healthcare wait times for specialist referrals can stretch to many months in some systems. With private coverage, that's often reduced to days. The point isn't opting out of public healthcare entirely. It's using money to remove delays, specifically when those delays are costing you in health. Number 3, your retirement contributions. This is essentially the investing equivalent of this list, and most people who are earning well are massively underusing it. The first concept is simple. Most employers match retirement contributions up to a certain percentage. If you're not contributing enough to get that full match, you're turning down free money. Log into your benefit system, find out your employer's maximum match, and make sure you're hitting it. The second concept is less well known, and it's specifically relevant once your income crosses certain higher tax brackets. In many tax systems, increasing retirement contributions can reduce your taxable income enough to avoid entering a significantly higher effective tax rate on that portion of earnings. This isn't money lost, it's money redirected into your own future while avoiding an unnecessarily high tax bite along the way. People earning well into 6 figures often haven't factored this in. It's one of the first things worth understanding once your income starts climbing. Number 4, your financial infrastructure. The biggest financial mistake people make when they start earning well is leaving money sitting in a checking account doing nothing. You don't need to hand your money over to someone else to manage it. Index funds, retirement accounts, tax-advantaged investing, this is learnable. But what shows up constantly is people who understand the concepts, mean to get started, and just never quite do it. The money sits there for months, for years, while inflation quietly erodes its value. If you're someone with money sitting uninvested right now, out of everything on this entire list, this one ranks near the very top. Every month it sits there as compound interest you're never getting back. Make sure your money is working as hard as you are. Before we continue, It helps to see what these first 4 upgrades actually look like when lived out over years, rather than just heard once and forgotten. Picture 2 people, we'll call them Daniel and Priya. Both start earning significantly more around the same time, roughly the same increase, roughly the same age. Daniel keeps living exactly as he did before the raise. He doesn't treat himself to anything reckless. He simply lets the extra money accumulate quietly in his checking account, telling himself he'll figure out investing eventually, and never quite fixes the mattress that's been giving him a sore back for 2 years, because it never feels like the right moment to spend on something so ordinary. Priya, meanwhile, uses part of her raise deliberately. She upgrades her mattress within the first month and notices almost immediately that she's sleeping better and thinking more clearly at work. She checks her employer's retirement match and realizes she'd been leaving free money on the table for years. She sets up automatic investing, so the surplus in her checking account finally goes to work instead of sitting idle. 5 years later, the difference between them isn't really about income. They've earned almost the same amount. Daniel still has chronic back pain he's stopped mentioning because it feels like a permanent fact of life rather than a fixable $90 problem. His uninvested cash has lost real value to inflation the entire time. Priya's investments have been compounding quietly in the background, and beyond the numbers, she simply feels better day to day, sleeping properly, thinking clearly, carrying less quiet physical discomfort that she'd stopped even noticing as separate from just being tired all the time. Neither of them made a single dramatic decision. The gap came entirely from which small, ordinary upgrades got made and which ones kept getting postponed indefinitely. It's worth pausing here to name something that often gets glossed over in videos like this. Not everyone watching is actually at the stage where these upgrades make sense yet, and pretending otherwise does a disservice. There are a few honest signs that it's genuinely too early for most of this list. Carrying high-interest debt is one of the clearest. If credit card balances or similarly expensive debt are still accumulating interest every month, that debt almost always deserves priority over quality-of-life upgrades, because the interest rate on that debt is usually working against every other goal simultaneously. Not having an emergency fund is another clear sign. 3 to 6 months of essential expenses sitting somewhere accessible tends to matter more than any single item on this list, because without it, a single unexpected expense can undo months of careful progress in every other area. And simply not knowing where money currently goes each month is a sign worth taking seriously too. Before upgrading anything, having a clear, honest picture of current spending patterns tends to reveal exactly how much disposable income actually exists to work with, which is often quite different from what it feels like on a gut level. None of this is meant to discourage anyone from eventually working through this list. It's meant to protect the sequence. Upgrading a mattress while carrying 20% interest debt isn't wrong exactly. It's simply working against the very foundation that would make every other upgrade on this list sustainable long-term, rather than a brief improvement followed by financial stress creeping back in through a different door. Let's continue with the rest of the list. Number 5, your home environment. Picture a broken door handle, left unfixed for over a year, annoying every single time the door gets opened. Then picture that same apartment finally getting fixed, not because it was suddenly affordable, but because it was about to be shown to someone else. Why does it take someone else seeing your space for you to finally fix it? Why weren't you worth doing it for the entire time? Most people tolerate things in their own homes they'd never accept anywhere else. The flickering light bulb, the uncomfortable couch, the bedroom that never quite feels like a retreat. You probably spend more time in your home than almost anywhere else. And if that's the backdrop to how you sleep, how you work, how you decompress, the quality of that environment has a direct impact on how you feel every single day. The upgrades don't have to be large, better lighting, warm rather than harsh overhead light, plants, which multiple studies have shown reduce stress and improve mood, a proper workspace if working from home, a larger monitor instead of hunching over a laptop screen for months on end. There's a specific reason home upgrades get deferred longer than almost anything else on this list, too. Spending on a home rarely feels urgent because nothing about it is technically broken. It simply stays mediocre quietly for years, while attention and money flow toward things that feel more pressing in the moment. But mediocre surroundings, absorbed daily for years, add up to something that genuinely shapes mood and energy even without anyone consciously noticing the accumulation. Number 6. Your passions and interests. There's a version of financial success that looks great on paper and feels completely empty in real life. Good salary, all the boxes ticked, no real memory of what you actually enjoy anymore because most of your time goes into work. Hobbies and interests are consistently one of the most underrated things to spend on, precisely because they're one of the first things people drop when life gets busy. Research on leisure activities has found that people who regularly engage in them show significantly lower levels of depression and stress, not marginally lower, significantly lower. Once there's disposable income, invest in that properly, not just the hobby itself, but the equipment, the lessons, the community around it. Whatever the interest is, take it seriously. It's a genuine, direct investment in what makes life feel like your own, not just your job's. Number 7. Convenience. Not just for you, but for your family. There's a type of stress that doesn't show up in any productivity framework: the mental load of running a household. The admin, the logistics, the invisible list of things that need doing, living permanently at the back of your mind. With a family, a partner, children, parents you support, that load multiplies. Once there's disposable income, spending to reduce that load becomes one of the most direct investments possible in home life. A cleaning service, meal delivery on a busy weeknight, help with yard work, laundry service. These tasks add up and quietly drain not just you, but your relationships. There's also something worth saying about supporting people you love directly. Helping a parent with something they're struggling with, taking something off a partner's plate. Money spent reducing friction in the lives of people you love has a return that's hard to quantify but very easy to feel. Number 8. Your mental and physical fitness. Some people have very little natural discipline when it comes to consistent exercise, and rather than pretending that will simply fix itself, hiring a personal trainer or committing to structured accountability is often one of the highest return purchases available. Without that accountability built in, the habit frequently just doesn't happen. And once the habit exists, everything else improves. It compounds into nearly every other area of life. On the mental health side, therapy, coaching, even a consistent journaling practice are among the most underrated and most postponed upgrades on this entire list. It's the internal work, understanding how decisions get made, what drives behavior, what's actually happening underneath the surface. Most people defer this indefinitely because it feels less tangible than a gym membership. The return on it is enormous. Number 9. Your skills. One of the smartest places to put disposable income is back into yourself, specifically into skills that directly increase earning potential. This doesn't mean another full degree. The most valuable upgrades tend to be certifications, technical training, courses with a clear, direct line to a higher salary, a better job, or a stronger position in your industry. A useful rule of thumb: if a skill investment pays for itself within 1 or 2 years, it's worth it. There's also a second category worth considering: skills that make you better at your existing job without necessarily changing your title. Public speaking, negotiation, management ability. These frequently determine whether a promotion happens, whether a raise gets approved, whether you're taken seriously in the room. Ask yourself what single skill gap is currently costing the most or holding you back the most, and consider closing that gap directly. And finally, number 10, your wardrobe. There's a strange guilt that comes with spending money on clothes specifically, as though it's somehow frivolous or vain. Research doesn't really support that. Studies have found that satisfaction with clothing choices is a meaningful predictor of overall well-being. Clothes that fit well, that create confidence, that improve posture, genuinely change how people feel and carry themselves. There's actually a term for this: enclothed cognition, the idea that what you wear directly shapes how you think, how you show up, how you move through a room. This isn't about designer labels or dressing to impress anyone else. It's about wearing things that create confidence walking out the door in the morning. Once it's affordable to buy things genuinely loved, that permission doesn't need to come from anyone else. To make this more concrete, imagine someone receiving a raise of exactly $1,000 a month in additional disposable income, after taxes and after their existing savings and investment contributions are already accounted for. A reasonable way to distribute that, roughly $200 a month toward the mattress and home environment upgrades, spread across a few months until both are properly addressed. Another $200 toward maximizing any employer retirement match that wasn't previously being captured. This alone might represent free money that was simply being left on the table before. A further $150 toward health access, whether that's upgrading insurance coverage or finally addressing a preventive appointment that kept getting postponed. The remaining $450 could reasonably split between skills development, one or two convenience services that reduce weekly mental load, and a modest, genuine investment in whatever hobby or interest has been quietly neglected. None of these numbers are rigid. The specific proportions matter far less than the underlying principle, which is spreading new income deliberately across several of these categories, rather than letting it default entirely into one or disappearing unnoticed into ordinary daily spending. Now that all 10 are on the table, it's worth talking honestly about how to actually decide where to start, since attempting all 10 simultaneously rarely works, even once the money is genuinely available. A useful way to think about it: ask which of these 10 has been quietly bothering you the longest without ever quite becoming urgent enough to fix. That lingering low-grade irritation is often the clearest signal of all. It's easy to convince yourself something isn't worth addressing simply because it's never technically been an emergency. But years of low-grade friction add up to something significant, even without any single dramatic moment forcing the issue. A second useful question: which of these, if upgraded, would make several of the others easier automatically? Sleep and financial infrastructure tend to answer this question best, since improving either one tends to create energy or resources that make the remaining upgrades easier to actually follow through on. It's also worth naming a few common mistakes people make once they finally have room to spend on themselves. The first is overcorrecting into guilt, treating every one of these upgrades as indulgent, and therefore doing none of them, even once the money is genuinely available. Financial responsibility and quality of life were never actually in conflict. The goal was never austerity forever, it was building toward exactly this stage. The second common mistake is upgrading the most visible categories first, simply because they're the ones other people will notice, rather than the ones that would actually move the needle most in daily life. A nicer car gets noticed by other people. A better mattress gets noticed by nobody except the person actually sleeping in it, night after night, for years. The invisible upgrades are frequently the ones with the largest real impact. The third mistake is treating this list as a single event rather than an ongoing practice. Income tends to keep growing over a career, and revisiting this list every year or two, asking honestly which category still needs attention, tends to matter more than getting everything right in one initial pass. It's worth being honest, too, about how this list applies differently depending on income level, because the same 10 categories don't carry equal weight for everyone reading them. For people just crossing into comfortable, disposable income for the first time, sleep, health access, and financial infrastructure deserve the overwhelming majority of attention. These three carry the most direct financial and physical consequences for continued delay, and the remaining 7 are genuinely fine to phase in slowly over subsequent years rather than all at once. For people with substantially more disposable income, the risk shifts in the opposite direction. Rather than underspending on these categories, it becomes easy to overspend on the most visible versions of them, chasing increasingly expensive versions of upgrades that already delivered most of their benefit at a much lower price point. A mattress upgrade delivers most of its benefit going from poor to good. Going from good to exceptional delivers real but far smaller additional returns. Recognizing where the genuine value curve flattens out for each of these 10 categories prevents higher earners from mistaking expense itself for progress. There's a version of financial success that people chase for years and arrive at feeling surprisingly empty. The number is there. The life somehow doesn't feel that different. That usually happens because the money went into the right accounts, but never into the right places. Sleep, health, home, passions, the people worth supporting, a sense of identity outside of work. These aren't luxuries to consider only once everything else is perfectly sorted. They're the actual point. Money gets worked hard for, and at some point, it has to start working for the life behind it. And if this video helped you think about where your own money might be missing the mark, that's exactly the point. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the ones still to come. Here at The Bigger Picture, we'll always explore the financial questions that truly matter, not with fear, not with sensational headlines, but with honest conversations, clear explanations, and the bigger picture behind every story.